Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Star Wars podcast, Obi Wan Kenobi official breakdown parts 1 and 2. How are you today, Matt?
I'm in England now, as some of you know. I'm jet lagged, so I'm 5 hours ahead of Melissa. It's like 2 o'clock your time, and it's like
7?
11 a.m. in LA. So, and it's 7 o'clock in England right now. So yeah, I'm all out of whack, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah, you look pretty good.
I look good, but I'm not feeling great. Just tired.
I get it. That jet lag really comes for you. I was in when I went to France, and you know how everybody's like sleep on the plane as much as you can.
Yeah.
I was stupid and I maybe only slept like 4 hours at best. And then when you land, they're like, stay awake for that entire first day so you can
Yeah.
force your body on the time schedule. So I was like dragging myself across like France. I was like, I cannot do this. There's no way I can. So it's a
Yeah.
pain.
That's the tough thing. Is last time we were here, we landed at 6 a.m. So we had to power through the whole first day, which is like super rough. And I've been up all day, so I'll probably go to bed in like the next 2 hours. It's really tough. That jet lag is no joke. But I was able to sleep on the plane a bit. I was able to sleep for most of the flight after Star Wars Celebrations. I think I was just so exhausted.
It's a lot, isn't it, dude? It's so much.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely better than last time, though. I traveled internationally, so we're
Good.
powering through, doing my
Good.
best.
So, wow. So we get to talk about the first 2 episodes of Kenobi. So our structure for the show is 1, Star Wars news. 2, we'll do episode summaries. We'll talk about what we liked and what we didn't like about these episodes. We'll get into fan thoughts, our theories, and then the final verdict. So that will be the structure for the overall episode. Very exciting. But first things first, let's talk a little bit about some celebration news that dropped since you and I last spoke. It's been chaos this weekend. And I'll start with yesterday. So I went to go see Top Gun Maverick, which I'm going to tangent here for 2 seconds. It's amazing. Go see Top Gun Maverick. It is maybe one of the best movies I've seen in a long time. It was so good. I cannot sing its praises high enough. And I did not expect it. Like, I just kind of expected it to be like a cheesy sequel flick. But when I went to go see the movie, all of these like Star Wars news were dropping. And I had people texting me. I'm like, on my phone, I'm like, no, but this movie's so good. So I got out and we just had like a bombardment of Star Wars news. But I do have to say, you guys need to go see Top Gun Maverick because it is the movie of the summer. It is so good. And that's my tangent.
I've heard. I mean, I've heard it's awesome. It's just surprising because it seems like it'd be really cheesy. But yeah, I've heard nothing but awesome things about it. But it's good to know. It's supposedly one of the best movies of the year. So let's go check it out.
It might be one of my favorite movies I've seen in recent times. It just hit all the right notes. It was, and again, this is not the Top Gun Maverick show, but it is a great film, and I highly recommend it. I think anybody can enjoy this without having seen the first one. It's just a wild ride.
But I'm looking forward to seeing it. I've heard awesome things, so it's good to hear that from you too.
This has been your public service announcement. Go see Top Gun Maverick. Anyway, we'll get back into Star Wars, but the point being, I was at Top Gun. All of this Star Wars news dropped like 10 minutes before I went to go see the movie. I was like, I don't have time to make a video on this, but we're here now, and let's dive into it. So,
yeah, a lot to get to.
First things first, as we are recording this episode, the Bad Batch panel is taking place at Star Wars Celebration.
Ooh, so probably it'll be previews probably.
So if we get a trailer, we can just stop the show for a brief sec and watch it.
Okay.
But just keep an eye out on Twitter if you see anything.
All right.
Second bit of news is we officially got the trailer, or the teaser trailer, I should say, to Jedi Fallen Order, and the sequel, Jedi Survivor. And I did a reaction video to that. But Matt, let's talk for a split second. Like, what did you think about that? I know you really loved the game. I've only seen the gameplay. I've never actually played the game, but what did you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, let's talk about Star Wars Celebration in general.
Okay.
Because, yeah, just got back from that. It was there Thursday, Friday. And by the way, thank you to everyone who came up and said hi. And, we took pictures with you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those buttons that I gave out. It's actually crazy the amount of people that I saw that were there that were, that watched the show. So that's, nice of you guys to come up and say hi, and that was enjoyable. Star Wars Celebration was very cool. It's my first Star Wars Celebration, so it's a lot to take in. It's a lot of there's just so much going on, so it's like hard to decide what to go see or what to go do. It's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it would have. We missed you. I mean, I wish you would have been there, Melissa. It was awesome. Like the amount of things that you would have enjoyed. Got to see Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau speak, and then Ewan and Hayden, which was awesome. Got to go to the Lego Star Wars panel, and then just talk to the fans, which was awesome. Just to see, the amount of enthusiasm there for Star Wars and the hype for Kenobi. And then after Kenobi came out, talking to people afterwards, which, by the way, we'll have a video up soon for those of you that I interviewed and people that I talked to. So we'll put something like that together. But there's a lot of footage, so it might take a little while. It was cool. It was a good first Star Wars Celebration experience for me. An overwhelming amount of news. Like, you and I were texting the whole time. Like, all the stuff.
I mean, it's stuff drops every 30 seconds when you're there. It's so
and you're like, where do I go? Which stage do I go?
What do I do?
Yeah,
who do I talk to? Who do I meet up with? Where are my friends?
Yeah. So it's like a tough conundrum, because you're like, what kind of news do I want to hear first?
Well, you definitely have to go into it with some kind of plan. And I figured that out after my first experience.
Because you don't know what's going to be announced at what. And then like they have the celebration stage, which is like where I saw you and Hayden, and like that wasn't planned. It was just like a spontaneous thing. Yeah. I also got you something, Melissa. I can't give it to you now, obviously, because I couldn't mail it in time before leaving for England. But you'll have that soon enough, so keep an eye out.
Thank you.
But yeah, so many cool things, and there's a couple different exhibits that I want to highlight, which we can do when we make the video. But yeah, I mean, like the Star Wars Survivor trailer is like one of many things that you can see, and like the Andor trailer got released as I'm walking around, and like the Skeleton Crew got announced while I'm around. And we can talk about all this, but it's just like, it's so much news that it's hard to focus.
Yeah, because that's dropping, and you're trying to watch the trailers and then stay focused on what your goal is for the day. If it's like meeting up with an actor, or if it's going to a certain panel that you have to get in line for at a certain time. Like, the whole experience can be incredibly overwhelming. And I do think it is meant to be experienced with other people, which makes like going by yourself a lot harder. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, I mean, it was really hard. I'll tell you right now, and I even told those of you who saw me, I told you while I was there, I was like, this is just hard because it's hard to film and then, make content for the show and be interesting, and then also go see the things you want to see without missing something. So it was definitely very hard, and it was exhausting because I was just nonstop walking around the whole time, talking to people, going to panels, listening to the new news, seeing exhibits, buying stuff. So it was really hard. As the years go on, and as next year when Melissa goes with me, it'll be a bit smoother. But it was a good first experience. Very, very cool. Everyone's very passionate, and again, thank you, everyone. Those of you who came and said hi, it means a lot. It's just also nice to know that you guys are listening to the show. So appreciate that. So,
yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah. So, but now that that's out of the way, so the Jedi Survivor trailer. That was a highly anticipated thing for me because obviously I love Jedi Fallen Order. It's one of my favorite video games like ever, and I wasn't expecting how good it was going to be. So seeing the new trailer, which didn't give away too much, it's just a teaser of like it's not non-gameplay, nothing. It's just like a teaser for the plot, which they didn't really give away a whole lot, but it looks really cool. I think it's set 5 years after the original game.
Yeah, dude, let's talk about that. So first of all, Cal Kestis has a new look. He's looking more like a young man in his early 20s.
Well, I mean, it looks like who's the actor who plays him?
Cameron
Monaghan. Yeah, the graphics look insane. Like,
oh, they look great.
Yeah, they look really good. I mean, obviously not gameplay. It's like a cutscene thing, but it's interesting, and I'm really glad we got it. I'm really excited for that game. I can't wait to see it come out and how they're going to tie that in. And then it also gives me hope that maybe we'll see Cal Kestis come to live action with Cameron Monaghan, maybe even in Kenobi at some point. Like, I don't know.
I that was going to be my follow-up thing. I think they're setting it up, Cal Kestis in live action very soon, and a lot of people have theorized way before Kenobi trailers were out that Cal could make an appearance in this show, which, by the way, I think is very possible. I I don't know with these things because, again, we've restated this 20 million times, but like you have to be careful with who you include in these stories. But I really feel like they're setting up for his live action debut really soon, especially because this game takes place 5 years after the original.
Yeah.
And that puts him like right in Kenobi time.
Yeah.
So I don't know, dude. We could get Cal Kestis in live action. I'm 100% here for it. I really like that character.
Yeah, plus with the Inquisitors, like that's a big part of the first game.
Mm-hmm.
With the seventh sister. But then Force
It's the second
Inquisitorius,
sister.
obviously you go there in Jedi Fallen
Mhm.
Order, so it makes sense, which would be really cool. If not, I'm not like gonna be mad about it. Like I don't really care. It'd be a nice thing to have happen, but I won't be surprised if they didn't do it. It's not like a must do kind of.
Either
But
way, he will come to live action here very quick.
Yeah, I think so too. Because it's not typical for video games to do this, where they use the likeness of the actor in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was definitely on purpose, and I think they've been trying to weave these things together for a while, and they've been thinking it through. So it'd be really cool. I hope we get it.
That'd be amazing, and I'm so excited. I love the fact that the video games are tying in so tightly with the other Star Wars media, so they make them almost necessary watching too. Like if you don't, it's still fine. But I love how they're making this thread that goes through each bit of Star Wars media to tie into the next. So that'd be great. I'd love to see live action Cal.
It'd be awesome.
Breaking news, though.
Okay.
The Bad Batch trailer just dropped.
Oh, okay. Well, let's pull it up.
Let's pull it up. Do you want me to share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Wow, breaking news.
Yeah, breaking news. The
Right
Bad
here on the
Batch
show,
trailer
as
just
we
dropped.
happen to be recording. What are the odds of that? Oh. All right, live reaction now. We get a live reaction to the Bad Batch trailer.
Here we go. It is time for a new era. Watch the trailer for the new season of Star Wars The Bad Batch coming to Disney Plus this fall. Okay, there you go.
All right, great.
Premiere
so it's
date.
This year.
Perfect.
Do they have a date? Maybe they'll put it up. Anyways, shut up and let's watch.
You can buy your freedom. You can have a future.
Oh, updated armor.
Isn't that what you're after?
We're already free.
Clearly, you're not paying attention to what's happening out there.
It is time for a new era.
That's Ian McDiarmid.
There are others out there who need our help.
Oh
We'll take all the allies we can get.
my god! That's what's his face?
Let's get to work.
Rex! Yes!
Whoa.
The soundtrack to this trailer. Oh my
Whoa.
god! It slaps! That soundtrack.
They showed so much so fast.
They did. Okay, we're going to go through this shot by shot real quick. Okay, so first off, the Bad Batch have new armor, and Omega
There's
has
a little helmet or something.
a new look. She's a little bit older.
She's a weird helmet on. Okay, keep going. Yeah, new armor. Okay.
Yeah, she's older.
What is that? Barely, though. She's not. It must be like a year or two.
Ooh.
Right. Oh, the
I think we're going to
Commando
get
clones.
the clone uprising this season. Yeah, Omega's hair is longer too.
I mean, definitely,
Holy.
because there's the Commando clones there, so that has to be the uprising.
Dude, is that the Senate? Are they in the Senate?
No, that's not Senate. That is. Play that again, because I want to. Is that Ian McDiarmid? Play that again.
Yeah, that is Ian
Hit play.
McDiarmid.
Just hit play. I want to
Paying
hear it.
attention to what's happening out there.
It is time for a new era.
Oh, dude.
Oh my god.
Dude, that is sick.
Yes, Ian McDiarmid
Dude,
King.
that shot right there.
That's a
Okay,
great
so that's the
shot.
original Emperor, then. Awesome.
Heck yes. Streaming this fall. Okay, gorgeous animated shot here with the water.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That's incredible. Oh, I wonder why they have different armor now.
Because they have to differentiate themselves. I don't know.
I guess that's
Commando
true.
clones, so yeah, I mean, and we've already seen the stormtroopers now, right? In the last season, so like, there shouldn't be clones like that anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, keep going.
Oh my
Alright,
god.
keep going. Okay, there's
Crosshair.
what's his name? Crosshair. Okay, and then keep going to when they like flash them all at the end. There was so many shots at the end.
Like that one. Okay, that's in.
Yeah,
That looks like a bunch of workers in a factory
those
somewhere.
looks like or clones, like mid-age clone, middle-age
Oh,
clones. Or, like,
dude,
young
you're
teen
totally
clones.
right. Those could be young clones that just never finished their training, and so they just put them to work. Oh my god.
Okay,
Ooh, cool aliens.
go back
That's
a little
not.
bit.
Oh my god, dude, that's Cody. Holy shit! Holy shit!
No,
Hang
it's
on,
not. That's not Cody.
dude, that's Cody. Look at the marking
What?
on his head.
Oh yeah. Okay, what is this? Go back.
Here,
What is that? Yeah,
some kind of alien.
that's cool.
That's awesome,
All right, now keep going. Okay,
dude. That is Cody. Look at the mark on the head.
oh my god, you're right.
It's Cody. Holy.
Okay, so we're probably gonna get Cody and Kenobi, I bet,
Yeah, Cody's got to be in Kenobi.
because he's
I'm
in
looking.
clone armor there.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you are right. That is Cody.
Holy shit. We're going to
Okay,
get
keep going.
answers. We're going to get answers on what happened to Cody, dude.
Yeah, about time.
What- That's a Gunji, or what is that character's name from Clone Wars?
Stinkpot.
I'm looking this up. Yeah, dude, it's Gunji from Clone Wars. Oh my god, he survived Order 66?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay,
That's
keep going.
crazy. That's Omega,
Alright.
and who's that kid? Or who's that character?
Hunk senator's son or something. I bet he's like some politician's son.
That's not Lux Bonteri, is it?
I don't know. All right, keep
Oh.
going.
That's Cody, Tech, flying through some little. That's awesome.
There's so many shots here.
But that. Okay, that gives us a better look at their armor.
Yeah. Wow, they did get upgraded armor.
Wow, that's really upgraded armor. It's like all orange now, too. Oh, they're trying to rebrand themselves. Notice how Crosshair's still not with them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. This is different clone stuff. Go back. Like, what is this? Because we already saw the new stormtroopers, and why they're
They-
battle droids. Flashbacks. Like, what is it?
No, I think they still are trying to like wipe out the remnants of the old era, like the Separatists.
Yeah, but remember they already started getting the new stormtrooper armor in Bad Batch. Do you remember that when they go to that?
Yeah, I do remember that. But there were still clones in like clone armor.
Okay, keep going.
More clones.
That's on like a Empire-esque type of place.
Yeah, Star Destroyer.
Yeah, keep going.
And then we get a better look at Omega here.
Yeah, she looks a little bit older. You're right. And then Peter Pumpkin.
Peter
whatever that-
Pumpkin.
What's that guy's name again? That's Peter Pumpkin. Whatever.
It's just Peter Pumpkin. We'll always refer to him as Peter Pumpkin. Okay,
Okay.
Gunji, right there. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you survived. That's awesome.
Okay, keep going.
More Wookiees. They're gonna do the Wookiee arc from There was a Clone Wars arc that was canceled after the show was canceled that dealt with being on Kashyyyk and the Wookiees and the Republic working with the Wookiees, and it was like this whole spiritual cultural thing. So it looks like they're gonna redo that arc and bring it into Bad Batch, which is
Oh.
sick.
Okay, cool shot.
Cool shot of Hunter.
Rika cheek.
Okay, Rex is back and he has a new outfit and he's looking
Yeah.
so good and I'm so excited. Oh my god. He's my clone husband and I love him. I am so hyped to see Rex. I love the idea that Rex still has a prominent role in this show.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we got Rex, and then we got Tech again, Wrecker, Ricka, Omega. I really like that outfit. And then Star Wars Bad Batch logo,
Oh, wow.
Season 2, streaming fall 2022.
Well, I don't really give you a whole lot in terms of like
Story.
There's a plot. Yeah, they just kind of threw a bunch of footage at you. Interesting.
It's a great way to build the hype. Dude, I'm just hyped about Cody. They finally gave us a reference to Cody. Oh my gosh, I bet the Empire's like, hey, we don't. If you think about it, in the season 7 arc of Clone Wars where the Bad Batch are first introduced, Cody's like the one to introduce the Bad Batch, and he's like, oh, we thought it'd be great to bring on this team of clones with defects because they have valuable skills that we can use for the Republic. So that would make so much sense to have Cody be the one to hunt them down because he'd know them super well and their tactics. Oh my god, I'm so hyped up, dude.
Wow. And fall, so we get a date too.
Yeah, fall of this year.
Wow.
Okay, that's fantastic. Wow. Okay, so here live on the show, we got our live reaction to the Bad Batch trailer, which is amazing. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
That was so exciting.
About time.
About time. We haven't heard anything about this show. This is exciting, which, by the way, that means we get Kenobi and/or Bad Batch. And then let's talk about the next project, which is Tales of the Jedi. Okay, so Tales of the Jedi panel actually took place yesterday, and this is really interesting. It is a 6-part anthology series focusing on Count Dooku in 3 parts, and then Ahsoka in 3 parts.
They also do mention...
They mention Count Dooku and his apprentice, Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yes, thank you.
Which is very exciting, who will be played by Liam Neeson's son in his Padawan days. And then Liam Neeson will come back to reprise the role of Qui-Gon as an adult.
Thank you.
This is so exciting, you guys, because it's not only new Star Wars animated content, which I never want them to stop doing because it's some of the best Star Wars content ever, but it's young Dooku, young Qui-Gon. We've never seen this era before. Young Mace. And then we get additional stories about Ahsoka from her time as a baby with her family. And then how she gets her white lightsabers from the Inquisitors. And then maybe some in-between stories focusing on her and Anakin and her training and how Anakin taught her how to protect herself. The trailer, or a crappy film footage, somebody took footage of it and uploaded onto YouTube. The entire trailer, because there was a trailer released, but the public didn't get to see it. Which, by the way, I'm just annoyed that Star Wars is like, ooh, only you guys get to see it, but nobody else. Like, what is up with that?
They did the same thing with the Mando trailer, which annoys me. It's like
that's
you already
there's no reason to do it.
It's probably because it's not done. They were just showing like a, they probably threw it together really quick. Is what I would imagine.
It's like so dumb, and it's like clicky and I don't know. It just gets on my nerves, and I don't think it's a very good marketing tactic.
Yeah.
But do...
Either way, it's here. I mean, we got that, which is cool. So now we know what it is, which is dope.
So here are some images from the panel for reference. The first image is, concept art featuring Count Dooku and Mace Windu. And like a little forest battle. We have Ahsoka versus an Inquisitor, which I assume this is inspired by the Ahsoka novel, which came out 4 years ago. I only read the book once. I didn't like it that much. I didn't think it was that well written. And they couldn't really do a lot with it because the whole purpose of writing the book was to see if Ahsoka had a fandom large enough to where they could actually sell the book. Like, that was the whole point of the book. But as far as the book goes itself, I didn't think it was that great, if I'm being totally honest. But I love this. Again, Count Dooku, and you can look in the background. You can see Qui-Gon. What I do like about this is that this was completely conceptualized and is being directed by Dave Filoni, which is always a good sign. And then Qui-Gon is here. Here's more a better look at Count Dooku in the show. So it looks like we're going to get like a really young, maybe like late 20s, early 30-something-year-old Count Dooku, and then maybe closer to his 40s or 50s. And I think we're going to see Count Dooku's turn to the dark side.
And why. Yeah.
And why.
Awesome. Yeah.
And then there's a very young Qui-Gon Jinn.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Which is so sick, dude. I mean, like, talk about a show that if you wish you could see come to life. Like, this is it.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which is amazing. And then they are going to, once again, they're going to do some stories on Ahsoka and kind of share like where her life started and her planet and her people. So here are some images of that featuring her mother. And then what I assume is kind of like the village elder.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to watch crappy footage of the trailer online, it is on YouTube. People have shared it on YouTube, but it's not like you can't see everything. But you do get a better idea, and the animation, just like from that footage that was taken, the animation looks so smooth and like gorgeous. It looks so much like Bad Batch. And I think Dave Filoni even said in the panel, he was like, I loved what they were able to do with the technology of Bad Batch, so I really wanted to bring it into this show. So I could not be more pumped up about this. I think it is delving into a really interesting era. You see Captain Rex in the trailer. You see Anakin. a young Obi-Wan with his mullet coming off of episode 2. You see Yaddle is in it fighting Count Dooku as
Love
a
Yaddle.
Jedi, which is great. So I'm all for this. Give me more animated content. Give me more animated content about stories we have no idea about. Like, it looks great, dude. And that's also coming out in the fall. So, I mean, we have
Big
no
stuff.
shortage of content.
Yeah. Then finally, the Andor trailer, which, again, they don't give away really too much, but it looks really good. The world that they built there. Talk about separating something from the Skywalker saga. It looks like they've done a good job based on this trailer. Looks like they've built their own world. It's very Rogue One-esque feeling, which is a good sign. Not a whole lot in terms of plot there, but you can kind of assume it's going to be the rebels starting to uprise against the Empire and starting to plot against it. You can see they're shutting their doors and their windows when the stormtroopers come and the Imperials come. So I thought it was really good. Got me hyped for the show. I think it's going to give me a good feeling about the show in terms of the direction it's going to go. Very Rogue One type of feeling. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it should be good. Again, like I keep saying this over and over again. I don't know what to expect. I really hope to see
I don't have
characters.
expectations though for it. It's just like Rogue One. It's like you can create your whole new thing. There doesn't need to be expectations. Just like create a good story and tell a good story, and that's all that matters.
Touche. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I think it'll be really good.
To follow up, there is one more bit of news because, guys, there's so much. Like, it's overwhelming. Like we said, there's just so much going on. They did talk about the Ahsoka series. They apparently showed like 15 to
clips.
30 seconds of footage.
Have you watched it yet?
I did watch it. And if you guys want to find that, that is on Twitter or YouTube. All you have to do is look up Star Wars Ahsoka. But two prominent things. They showed us a shot of the back of Sabine Wren's head for Rebels, and they brought out the actress who would be playing her. They also showed Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Rebels, which is another main character in that show, which is so exciting, but they only showed the back of her head. They didn't reveal the actress. They didn't reveal who would be playing her, but she's there. She's in the show.
Yeah.
And they also made Rosario Dawson's Leku on Ahsoka longer because the fandom bullied Star Wars once again into fixing something. So they brought Chopper out from Star Wars Rebels, confirming that Chopper will be in the show, which is very exciting.
Nice.
I love the murder droid. Can't wait for that. And then Mina Masoon made a very cryptic tweet on Twitter, which is essentially confirming that, yes, he has been cast as Ezra. He is the biggest troll. And people even called him out on it. They're like, wow, you're really trying to sneak past your NDAs, dude.
I know, I saw that, and he just sent a winky face.
But I think that pretty much covers all the Star Wars news for now. God knows what else is going to drop today.
Cover it on the next show, whatever ends up coming up, because I'm sure there's much more to break down. Then we'll probably have the real trailers by then, too, so we can actually play them on the show.
Yeah, that would be great. Wouldn't that be nice to be experiencing everything else that everybody's experiencing at Celebration? Apparently, that's too much to ask for.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk about Obi Wan Kenobi Part 1 and 2. So once again, guys, we're going to start with the episode summary, talk about what we liked and didn't like about the episode, then we'll get into fan thoughts, our personal theories, and then the final verdict, rating it out of 10. Let's get started. So just for reference, the director of both episodes was obviously Deborah Chow, and then the writers of the story were Stuart Bietti and Hazian Amani, I think is how you say the other guy's name. Please forgive me. I'm not good at pronouncing things or words or
Sounds
people's
great.
names. But that's the director and the writer. This is a hefty 2-part recap, you guys. There's a lot of information in this, so we might not get to everything, but we will do our best. So, overall, just to give like a general picture before we get into detail, I thought the quality of the show was incredible so far. Just like production quality is insane. I could not believe like the level of detail in every single shot. Like I felt like I was watching a movie.
Yeah.
Which is exactly the way I think you're supposed to feel. I thought the pacing was very good. I did like the pacing a lot. I know a lot of people had problems with it saying, like, oh, it's too slow, the buildup is taking forever. But I really feel like you need to do that in your first 2 episodes to set the tone of the show. Otherwise, the rest of the show just isn't going to work. So I did appreciate that. And the music was like a perfect blend of old school John Williams and then like modern music, Natalie Holt. So I thought the blend of the two different eras, the nostalgia of John Williams and then Natalie Holt's modern sound, really created this masterpiece over the first 2 episodes. So I really enjoyed that. Like, let's jump straight in, Matt. Like, what did you think of like the Obi Wan setup, starting with episode 1?
Well, I agree. I think a lot of what you said is true. The pacing was a bit slow, but I don't think that's a bad thing. And you and I talked about this before we went live. Those 2 episodes should have been made into just one, I think. It wasn't necessary to split them up. I don't know. I mean, maybe they hadn't figured out how they're going to release them yet, but the pacing being slow is important because you have to make sure people remember what happened before versus what's happening now. And you have to make sure what's happening now resonates with people. And in order to do that, you have to tell the story of what Obi-Wan's life currently is, which is slow.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing a nothing life. He's trying to live his life the best way he can. After this, horrific event happened. So I watched the first episode twice, immediately after I watched the second one. And the recap, first of all, in the first episode.
Oh my God.
Is amazing. Very good recap. It's very good to try to suck you back in. And then they bring you into it and they show you what Obi-Wan's doing. Then he has his flashbacks as he's in his bed, which, by the way, opens up the door to other things happening. Other flashbacks. And then they're trying to let it breathe, which you should do. Let it breathe. Let it, they did nothing. I think that's why they released 2 episodes at once, because if you would have just released that first episode, people would have been like, this show stinks.
Mm-hmm.
It's not enough happening. But I like the way they did it, where it's like, okay, let's remember where we came from, what happened, and then let's see where he's at now, and let it develop a little bit. So I thought that was all very good. I think I liked the first episode a little bit more than the second, actually, because of that. And the music was awesome. Obi-Wan's theme, which also came out during Star Wars Celebration, which was played a lot during these episodes, is very good. It's very good. So shout out to John Williams on that. It brought me back. You have a lot of feels happening. I thought there was a couple corny moments. I wasn't a huge fan of the Jedi on Tatooine, the one who talks to Obi-Wan, who's like, oh, what happened to you? And it's not necessarily the actor. I just don't think the writing was good for him. He didn't seem like a Jedi. He seemed like just a guy just hanging out in a cantina, and he's sitting there like, oh. Dude, if you're a real Jedi, be more subtle. Jeez Louise.
Yeah.
Sitting there in front of the Inquisitors. Also, Grand Inquisitor looks scary as shit, dude. I don't know what anyone was complaining about. He looked like a great bad guy. They really made you feel for them. And also the other Inquisitor, the
Fifth
guy
brother.
who walks really cool.
Fifth brother.
With his cool voice. Love that. Reva was okay. She came off as a little bit of like a, hey, I want to do things my way kind of girl.
A little forced. No pun intended.
It did feel a little forced, in my opinion. However, I do think they fixed that in the second episode, which we can get into later. But I didn't love the first impressions of her. And then I love the moment where he's getting his lightsabers, right? Talking about burying it in the sand, whatever. I love Owen.
Oh my God.
Fantastic job here.
Joel Edgerton?
Joel Edgerton crushes it. He's perfect cast for this role. Perfectly cast. Also with the toy that Obi-Wan gets Luke, which we see him playing with in A New Hope.
I will get into this in the second episode, but Obi-Wan and children just freaking end my life, dude. Yeah. That is so meaningful for that ship that Luke plays with to be from Obi-Wan. Yeah. Are you kidding me? I'm crying about that for days.
Great little detail, I thought. I liked how they make you feel like Obi-Wan's a loser now. He's cutting big crate dragon salmon, whatever that is, and even that Jedi's like, what happened to you, man? And you're like, oh yeah, I mean, he hasn't been doing this for 10 years. Of course he's not the man he used to be. And he even says as much. He goes, I'm not what I used to be. I love that. That's what you need. And you felt his weakness, especially in the second episode. You feel his weakness. He's still got it a little bit, but you feel how much he's lost.
You feel his grief.
Yeah, and I
follow
had
him.
to watch it twice before that. I had to like take it in a little bit and then watch it again because when you're doing reaction videos, you got the light on you. It's recording. It's a little harder to pay attention to every detail. And also, I'm nervous and I'm excited for the first episode. So the second time around when I watched it, I'm like, oh, there's a lot more things that I caught. But yeah, Joel Edgerton, stand out in this episode.
He's
very, very good job.
That could not have been better casting.
Yeah, and also
He's amazing.
Special effects, the CGI they use is fantastic. The music was fantastic. It's great world building, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Obi-Wan reaching out to Qui-Gon, not being able to reach him, and then Order 66. Now, another point of contention with this episode, which I texted you about, the Order 66 thing, we talked about this. Okay, great, yes. Good start, and I'm glad they started that way because it reminds you of, again, what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it came off a little, I don't know if corny's the right word, but whoever that Jedi Master was, it's just the way she carried herself felt a little not
weird?
Organic to me. Yeah, weird. Not bad, it just felt not organic, not super organic. It didn't feel like the prequel Jedi that I know. Not necessarily saying it's like bad.
Okay.
It was just like, this doesn't feel like the same Jedi Temple, the same type of Jedi. But I did feel like it was kind of a redemption for the younglings that were
killed,
unalived in episode 3. But a good way to start off the show, nonetheless. So, I know I'm jumping all over the place.
That's okay.
Overall, I think I like this one more than the first. Or than the second, I'm sorry. Because I think they're setting the stage for the rest of this, which is a lost, hopeless Obi-Wan, and setting the stage for how the galaxy currently is. So that's my long-winded answer.
No, that's great, dude. That's awesome. I mean, again, it's like so long that you have to like sit here and you're like, okay, what actually happened? Am I actually thinking about the right episode? So I get it. I totally get it. I really liked the mundane of Obi-Wan's life. In fact, you said the same thing I did in my reaction video, which is it reminded me a lot of Rey's introduction, which is just in The Force Awakens, which is just like mundane. He's not doing much. What he is doing is just routine. And he's carrying the grief of everything that's happened the last 10 years. I mean, he doesn't have that much of a distraction. So he's kind of just been sitting in this grief. What could I have done? Could I have saved Anakin? And even Bail Organa calls him out on it. So, you know, we get that little subplot I want to talk about in a little bit with like Princess Leia and her getting captured and taken by these men. And Bail's like, that's my kid. That's Luke's sister. You have to help her. Like, you have a duty to this girl. And Obi-Wan's like, oh, God, but I have to stay here and protect Luke. And Bail's like, BS, dude. This is not about Luke. This is about you trying to deal with the loss of Anakin. He's dead. And not only does Bail say that, but Owen says that too. And he's like, you have to let him go. And so, like, you really feel Anakin's shadow in this.
But it's also a reminder to us of that's how they think. You have, because that's important for the second episode to think that way. Think as the characters think, which is Anakin's dead.
Yes.
So anyways, sorry, keep going.
No, you're fine. And I was also going to follow up with when Obi-Wan is recovering his lightsabers from the sand, which, by the way, Anakin is screaming somewhere in the distance because his lightsaber was buried in sand. So
emotional damage.
Side note, but it reminded me of the line from A New Hope where Owen and Luke are talking in like the opening scene.
Yep.
And Owen says, Obi-Wan doesn't exist anymore. He died about the same time as your father, which emotional damage, dude.
Yeah.
Like metaphorically, it's like Obi-Wan's dead. Only Ben Kenobi and Darth Vader are alive now.
Yeah.
Those are the individuals that replaced the characters that we love. And so I really felt that deeply. I really felt like Obi-Wan's aloneness, his grief, his humanity. I want to see that. I want to understand his mental state and the losses that he's gone through. So I think the first episode did a great job of setting that up. The Inquisitors, I will admit, the Grand Inquisitor, his first introduction when he walks into the saloon, I was like, yeah, that's the Grand Inquisitor.
Great. Yeah,
that's awesome. Great. Rupert Friend is doing a great job. And I do think that they touched up the Inquisitor. I think they added more markings on his face. They added the Sith eyes, which really helps. So I'm really grateful that they did that. The fifth brother he's so funny to me, but like, I do like his voice. I think, is it Sung Kang? Who's the actor? Is that his name?
I don't know.
I think that's his name. If I'm botching that again, I'm so sorry. But I think he's doing a good job. And then Reva, interestingly enough, it really sounds like she has beef with Obi-Wan specifically, which I thought, because they start off the episode and they're like, you have to let this obsession with Obi-Wan go. And Reva's like, he's alive and I want him. I'm like, oh, this is a pre-existing thing? She's had an obsession with finding him? And so I have a couple theories on that. One major thing being is I think she was one of those younglings in the beginning during Order 66.
Oh, that's a good theory.
So if you look, there's a little girl that looks exactly like her in the beginning. So I think Reva was one of those younglings. And further to that, you know how in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan sends a beacon out to tell the Jedi to stay away from the temple?
Yeah.
So there's a theory going around that Reva hears that message, and because of no Jedi coming back, she gets captured, tortured, turned into an Inquisitor. So maybe she like wants revenge because of that and blames Obi-Wan, which would be a great thing to put in the show. So that could be a lead-in for her character. But the Inquisitors were fine. I mean, they're good. I think Rupert Friend is doing a good job. He feels like the Inquisitor to me. And then the other introduction I want to talk to you about is the introduction of Princess Leia into the show, who's around 10 years old. And I know you have some interesting opinions on this.
Yeah.
But we do get that introduction on Alderaan, the return of Bail and Brea Organa. And then just kind of seeing Leia's lifestyle, which, by the way, could not be more hilarious in contrast to Luke, because it's like, Luke working on a farm in the desert. And then it goes to
You got the short
Leia.
end of the stick.
Yeah, and then you're like, Leia, royalty, princess, your highness. It's just so funny to me.
Yeah. So we can use this to talk about both episodes because Leia is obviously a big part of the second episode, but I'm glad you bring that up because she is an integral part to it, and you're totally right on the juxtaposition of both of their upbringings. Luke gets screwed over with Obi-Wan, and then Leia's high and mighty in the shade. I know a lot of people loved her character, and I get that. I did not find her dialogue believable for a 10-year-old. 10-year-olds don't talk like that. 10-year-olds aren't that smart. And it did still feel like Leia. And they did a good job of integrating Leia's sassiness. I just think some of the lines she had were a bit far-fetched for a 10-year-old, where your willing suspension of disbelief kind of goes away with her snarkiness. Anyone who knows kids knows that they're not that complex. And this comes into the second episode too, which I'll touch briefly into, when she's talking about how she automatically knows, like, oh, they're not looking for me, they're looking for you, Obi-Wan. And it's like, she wouldn't know that. She wouldn't know that at all. But it is cool that we just see her and her upbringing, because that's a side of that family we haven't seen before, with them. And it's obviously great to see Bail Organa again.
The world's best dad, by the way.
Yeah, great guy, great dad.
Great dad.
Definitely very cool. I was surprised we didn't get any Luke stuff. I guess they're probably saving that for later. But I think whoever that actress is, she's good. I'll give her credit. She's good,
especially for being a kid actor.
Yeah,
she's really good.
Yeah, she's good. Her little droid, by the way, I was correct about. I predicted this. I said she's gonna have some kind of little protector droid. Boom, nailed it. Called that.
So much for being a protector droid. That droid sucks at protecting her.
Yeah, actually, loser droid.
The loser droid, Lola, I think is its name. But I do really like that the only reason that, like, it makes sense to me that the only reason that Obi-Wan would leave Tatooine is because one of the twins is in danger. Like, that makes sense to me. Like, that's the call to action for him, and he has to answer the call despite not feeling ready, despite being depressed, despite grieving everything that he lost. And so I did really like that, which I guess can be our segue into episode 2, which I get what you're saying with everything with, like, Leia and stuff. Like, the first time I watched the episode, I felt weird, primarily because, one, I think we're really used to seeing these prequel era characters in movie format, and this is in television format. And so there is going to be a bit of an adjustment to, like, how you view it. And so I watched both episodes about 3 times, and I do have to say, after the third watch, I felt much better about both of them. Like, it didn't feel as, like, choppy in some scenes at first. So, like, with Leia, like, I will admit, I was super taken aback by her dialogue at first. I was like, man, this is weird. And then the more I watched it, I was like, yes, this feels very Leia, Carrie Fisher-esque. And also, like that kind of feels like a kid to me. And I feel like personally, with Leia's dialogue and the way she was talking about things, I felt like that was almost how like the Force resonates in her, like her being super intuitive and calling Obi-Wan out on things. And she's like, you think the less that you say, you're like, I don't know what she says, like, you're not telling me anything, but you're saying more by not saying anything. Or like how she calls out her cousin, her step cousin. Like, I really felt strongly that was kind of like the way the Force was resonating in her. And that became more believable to watch with, like my third viewing. So I definitely agree with you. It's like at first you're kind of like, ah. And then the more you watch it, I just felt better with each watch.
Yeah. Yeah. But in my opinion, you shouldn't feel iffy the first time around. It should just feel natural. That's my personal opinion. But it wasn't enough to ruin it for me by any stretch. I'm not saying it was bad. I just think
it took you out.
Yeah, it took me out. And
okay.
when she's getting kidnapped by Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers, which I'm sorry, but like, dude, like I can't see him as anyone but Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
He's also in Back to the Future, right?
Yeah, he is. He's in a bunch of movies. He acts a lot. But when they're chasing her, it's like, dude, 10-year-olds aren't fast runners. Like,
I will agree.
Mercenaries would catch her in a second, and they were trying to make her look cool with her cool little slide, like whoosh, and you're like, she's 10, dude. Like, you would catch her in 3 seconds.
I do agree with you.
So I thought that was clunky. They were trying to make it like intense when it didn't need to be intense. They should have literally, she walks outside, they capture her. That's it. That's what it should have been. And it was wasted time for the episode, in my opinion. Like, you don't need to have this crazy explanation as to how she gets captured or a crazy chase scene. Just like, make it, okay, we're capturing her as bait for Obi-Wan. That's all you need to do, But I do love that world. What's it called? Denethor. I don't know. What
Ken something. Ken. I don't know.
The planet they were on. I don't know. It was cool. But that was a really cool planet. Really cool world building. The dynamic between Obi-Wan and her was very cute. I will say, very good, and also feelings everywhere. I kept having these feelings of like they did a really good job of connecting prequels and getting you having a little bit of prequel stuff, a little bit of original trilogy stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So they did a really good job of connecting those two things together in the second episode, which I really liked. And like, although it wasn't perfect by my opinion, I still think it was good. There was many moments where you just have this feeling inside of you where you're like, okay, I see what they did there. I see, and like also the clone, which we have to talk about for a second. Oh, like so well done. And one of the reasons I love that is not just because it's Tamora Morrison, who I love, and also big Clone War reference, but also just Obi-Wan past reference. But it makes you feel because everyone's seen a veteran on the street before, homeless or something, asking for money, and you see his face and you're like, oh, wow. And it also resonates with me at the end of the episode where Reva says, you can't run from him, Obi-Wan, And it's kind of true because Anakin's fingerprints and his footprint is on everything. Like, everything's going to remind Obi-Wan of Anakin.
Right.
Because of their lives together. And so the clones being decommissioned is like, and him fighting in the Clone Wars that's going to resonate with Obi-Wan because they fought together in that, So it's like, that line that she says at the end was kind of referencing, that little bit of seeing that clone on the street, and other things in the episode sprinkled throughout. So,
which, by the way, can I interject here for a sec?
Yeah.
So speaking of the clone on the street, am I insane? But if you look at this shot, doesn't that kind of look like Hauser's armor?
Yeah, it kind of does.
Like, let me pull up a picture of Captain Hauser because everyone was like, no, he's from the 501st. I'm like, really? Because the colors look more like
lighter
like
blue.
Hauser's colors. So like that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Bit of a stretch.
I mean, it is a stretch. It is a stretch, but my first reaction was like, oh my God, because they try to tie in these things all the time. So it literally could be anyone. So you can't write these things off. And I don't like to write these things off, but
yeah.
It was still a great call out. And Obi-Wan's face when he saw him said everything. It was full of like anguish, remorse, fear. I mean, the last time you saw that face, it was trying to kill him. Like you have that. And then I just want to give a shout out real quick. Ewan's acting was amazing.
Yeah, very
nuanced, subtle. Every facial expression he gave like was so readable. I could understand what he was going through, and he's perfect. Like he was born for this role. I could
Yeah,
not
I
imagine a
agree.
better actor.
It was amazing. So a couple things here, and I'm really glad you brought that up because his facial expressions throughout the second episode were so poignant
Yep.
and well done. And he said nothing, but he said so much at the same time. And a couple things here. First episode, you're like, oh, Obi-Wan's kind of a loser now, like doing something,
Mm-hmm.
trying to adjust. And then the second episode, and I even say this in my reaction, I'm like, oh, he doesn't have it anymore. And then he gets trapped by those mercenaries, and then he still gets away from them, and he has that hand-to-hand combat, and like, beats him up, and you're like, oh, he's still got a little bit of something, he still knows what he's doing. Runs into Camille Nanjiani, who, interesting
Right.
character, by the way, fake Jedi.
He got on my nerves so much, but then
Yeah,
I laughed
he's
like the
still-
third time.
Yeah, he still kind of got on my nerves, but I mean, interesting character. And his Obi-Wan's relationship with Leia, facial expressions again,
Cutest
pain,
thing ever.
the emotion he had behind it of knowing that that's
Leia
his
is
best friend's child, right?
Yeah.
All of that was really cool, and they're getting away. And then his facial expressions at the end of the episode, which we can talk about in a second, that was unbelievable acting on his part. Just the way you can see his eyes moving around, thinking and trying to connect the dots. The Padme reference, which I initially thought was Satine because I wanted it to be Satine. But now that I watched it again, I'm like, oh yeah, he's definitely talking about Padme, talking about how Leia reminds him of someone he used to know.
Which that was so well acted. I loved that little scene where he's like, she was stubborn like you, and she's like, I'm not stubborn. He goes, yes, you are. It was just such a cute little. It reminded me a lot of Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Buying the clothes, he's
Don't
like,
even
"We'll take
talk to
that."
me. Like,
And
dude,
then she's like, okay, and the gloves. We'll get her gloves too.
Dude, he is. I loved that. I love that he's got a soft spot for kids. He clearly looks at Leia and he sees his best friends. He sees Padme. He sees Anakin, and so I just love that reflection. And I do love Leia's attitude. It's just it was just all it hit all the right emotional beats for me personally. And
it didn't for me until the end of the episode. So where it all came together for me, where I'm like, all right, now I'm really stoked, is when they're in that like hangar or whatever. They get the codes to get off the planet. Reva tracks him down. He's hiding. He doesn't know whether or not to use his lightsaber. You can see him clutching it. Like, I don't know if they even know how to use this anymore. And you're like, oh man, I get it, because why would you have ever had it? It's been buried in the sand for years. He's sitting there holding it like this. And then when she's talking and she's like, Lord Vader will be pleased. And that initial look on his face of confusion.
And recognition, because he has heard Lord Vader, Anakin being referred to Lord Vader.
Exactly. And then he starts connecting. You can see him connecting the dots in his head. Again, great acting. And then that's when both episodes came together for me of like, when they reference Anakin as being dead, they're reminding you, they showed the recap and his flashbacks and all that stuff. And so it reminds you, and then you're sitting there and you're like, oh, and then the dots start connecting for you too. I felt the exact same way he did as he's sitting there holding his lightsaber, like just looking around, connecting the dots. Then obviously Grand Inquisitor comes in, ruins that, which I'll talk about in a second. But then he gets on that ship, and the music, first of all, that's playing, phenomenal. I don't know, it's such a, you don't need that original trilogy or prequel music to be playing during that time. Whoever did that, like whoever came up with that idea for those instruments they were using, the tones they're playing, is amazing. And his eyes are still going around, just trying to connect the dots and figure out what happened. And you can feel like oh my God, And then that flash, obviously, at the end of the second episode was just chills for me. Like, what a way to start this series off, to bring you all back. You obviously get the shot of Vader's eyes. And I've watched that like 100 times, but I thought Ewan's acting there at the end was like perfectly reflective of how anyone would feel in that moment.
It's subtle. It's subtle and nuanced, and I think the best actors do that. It's not pouring too much.
And this was a moment you and I talked about, by the way, right?
Right
before this came out. Like, right? You and I literally talked, or like, this is going to be a moment when he finds out,
Yeah.
And I think it was a really good moment. Like, they did a really good job of making that feel the way it should have felt.
I agree. And then Obi-Wan tearing up at the end when he whispers the name
Yeah.
Anakin, I was
When
like,
he says
oh
Anakin,
my God.
dude, because he says Anakin.
Yep. And then,
'Cause that's what he's thinking.
and then Lord Vader opens his eyes.
I mean,
And
dude,
we get that
that's
Force
like,
connection.
again, that's like that's like top 10 Star Wars moments for me, easily. Like, that was, you see my reaction. You saw it.
Yeah.
I
You were like shaking.
was like, because I wasn't that impressed with the episode that far. But it was all a build up to that. And then it goes, oh. Then for me, I'm like, I see what they were doing. I know what they're doing. I know what they're trying to do. So then last thing.
Grand Inquisitor.
Grand Inquisitor. Very
Beep, bop,
confused
boop.
about this.
Yep.
Very, because again, my reaction video. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But I'm like, oh, okay. So is this a different Grand Inquisitor? Because he's in Rebels, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, what? Are they retconning this? Like, what's happening? And then it also deepens Reva's character. It made her infinitely more interesting to me. Because now that you're mentioning your theories, I'm like, okay, there's something to that. Because I even mentioned at one point in the episode, I'm like, is she going to turn good at some point? Or like, does she has another angle happening? There's something else going on with her.
There is, because she also knows that Anakin is Vader, and nobody knows that. And those who do know that die. So how does she know that? Like,
Yeah.
that's a big question I have.
And her no hesitation. And her line after is like, who's in the gutter now? You know? You're like, whoa, she's ruthless, dude. She's willing to do anything to get to Obi-Wan for whatever reason. And you also find out that the Grand Inquisitor's whole motivation for getting Obi-Wan, the reason why he's not letting her get him is because he wants the credit to Vader.
Oh, yeah. To rise up in the ranks.
Right. So you're like, okay, that makes one more sense.
On the topic of the Grand Inquisitor, what do you think that actually is? Because I have a theory.
I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe they're just going, done, or you never know with Star Wars. They come back and he comes back up and then he's kind of an antagonist to her and her story. But I don't know. What's your theory?
One of two things happened. One, they retconned Rebels, which I don't think they would do. I mean, I think it's possible, but I find that really hard to believe given the fact that like Dave Filoni is very proud of the work that he did on Rebels. He's proud of the work that he did with the Grand Inquisitor. And so when I'm thinking about that, it doesn't add up as a retcon. After I posted my reaction video and I was like, oh my God, did they retcon that? A lot of people were like, there's no way they would. And so what people are theorizing is that it's kind of just to get the Grand Inquisitor out of the way and then leave the conflict between Reva, Darth Vader, and then Kenobi.
Which makes sense.
Seems more likely.
Yeah.
So I don't, and then there's like a whole thing. They're like, oh, the Grand Inquisitor's species has 2 stomachs, so he can't possibly be dead. So I'm confused because they tried to make it seem like it was a final death.
Yeah. That's
They
like
really played it like it was a final death, but at the same time, that doesn't add up since the Grand Inquisitor is in a large portion of Rebels. And I don't think Dave would allow Rebels to be retconned. So I don't know. I hope he's not dead. That would make me feel kind of crappy if he was dead. But it wouldn't. I don't think the buildup to that was great, to be perfectly honest. But again, I do think,
out of nowhere, but I kind of like it. It was like it keeps you guessing.
Yes, it does, and it does add to Reva's character and motivations because this seems to be very personal for her. Like it looks like she has a beef with Obi-Wan, and because of that, she wants to be the one to bring Kenobi to Vader and be like, "Look what I did." But in my personal opinion, I think we're going to see Reva try to do that throughout the rest of the series, and I think that she'll die at the end of the show because of that and because of what she knows.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I mean, it's interesting, and this is something I don't necessarily need to theorize on. I'm interested in where they're going with it, and I'm like, okay,
right,
you did this, but there's a reasoning behind it. So what's that reasoning? And we'll figure it out. Definitely.
And then just kind of the last mark is, and I know you touched on this a little bit, but I really like seeing Obi-Wan struggle.
Yeah.
In throughout these 2 episodes.
Because he was a badass dude, and now he's a nobody.
Now he's a nobody. I love that line that comes from Flea where he says, "You're just a man, and you're bleeding all over my floor." And I was like, yikes, but yes. Like, that's like the perfect description of where Obi-Wan is at in his life. Like, you know, like the metaphorical, like, bleeding Anakin, you know, like him being like just a normal guy. He's no longer Jedi Master Obi Wan Kenobi. He's just Ben Kenobi.
Yeah, and even at the first episode, he goes, "What happened to you?"
Yeah. The scene where he's reaching out to grab Leia with the Force, and that them emphasizing how hard that is for him, that was an amazing scene. I loved that moment, and it was very Cal Kestis-y, which
Yeah, and
was also great.
a couple last things. Number one, most of the trailer was from episode 1 and 2.
Yep.
Great, I love that. It means they were trying to misdirect you, which I love.
It means we're going blind into episode 3, essentially.
Exactly. And I love that. The number 2 was like we thought all the bounty hunters would be after him. It was just in that one episode where he felt like,
Yep.
like all this stuff's happening. So it's like anything goes for these next couple episodes. You and I were right on some things, but we're also have no idea what we're in for the next 3. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Me too. And we're getting episode 3 this Wednesday.
Yep.
Which is a lot sooner than I expected. So, I mean, it's going to be like, oh, we're coming off the hype of those first 2 episodes, and then bam, we get the 3rd episode, and then we'll be halfway through the show.
I know.
Isn't that ridiculous, dude?
Crazy.
I'm so sad. It's going to go by so fast.
I know. But I'm glad they did it as a show.
I agree.
More room to tell the story.
I agree. So, real quick, what is your final verdict for episode 1, ranking it out of 10?
I give episode 10. I know I said different answers in my interviews, which you guys will see later. I said like a 9.2. I think I'm going to go down a little bit. I think it's still really high. I think it's probably like the first episode's like a 8.6, 8.7. And that's only because it was they did not make that as a first episode. They made it knowing they're going to release episode 2. I think the second one, because it was a little slow, but it was still very good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go up to an 8.8, actually. I think 8.8 is a fair rating. And then episode 2, I go a little lower. I'd go to like a 8.2 or 3. And
really?
It would be higher, but I just think it was, there was some wasted space in these episodes.
What would you have done?
Well, like the Leia chase scene in the first episode, the focus on Obi-Wan finding her. He could have found her a lot faster. And by the way, 8.2 is still a very high score. It's still really good.
It's higher, but it's lower than I expected.
The Force jumping around from Reva, I did not love.
Force parkour.
That was a little much for me. They were just trying to make her look so badass. And I'm like, you don't need to. She's already cool. Like, just have her chase him. She's like Batman looking over the city. My city. And you're like,
I'm Reva.
Yeah. But still both very, very good episodes. I was very happy with them both. The ending of that second one is, like, that's one of the best ending of an episode I've ever seen. That was chills for me. So dope. What about you? What are your ratings?
Wait, did you rate episode 2? Yeah, you did. Sorry. Honestly, episode 1, 9 out of 10. I think the setup was great. I think that's exactly what they should have been doing, showing the mundane in Obi-Wan's life, how he's struggling, showing him how he's kind of out of touch with the rest of the world. I mean, he really is. He doesn't feel like he has much to live for, and I think they did a good job of reminding you of everything that he's lost and what he's struggling with. I think the setup was very strong for episode 1. For episode 2, which I really enjoyed, like, I had a great time with it. I think Ewan's acting, his nuance is just, he gets it, man. He totally gets it. So I'd have to say that for the second episode, I would rank it a 9.4 9.4 out of 10.
Oh, high.
Yeah, I really liked it. The reason I'm docking points is because of, like some unnecessary things in there, like Reva's not quite there for me yet. I think she has an interesting base. I think she has an interesting base, but I still think it could either be really bad or really good. And we just don't know enough yet, and we don't understand her character motivations. So, I mean, overall, I really liked both episodes. I think it's a very strong start to the show. I think they get you in the right place. I think you understand where they're going. I think closing it out with Obi-Wan whispering Anakin and then having Anakin, Darth Vader, I should say, open his eyes and you're like, okay, yeah, it's real. He knows stuff's going to go down. And so I think it's a really strong start to the show, and I'm so excited to see where they go. But again, this is like barely the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and also, finally, a Force connection there between Obi-Wan and Anakin, if that's what they're going for. Also, Obi Wan Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon's in the episode, and you can tell. The recap they had at the beginning, they put some stuff in there on purpose with talking about Padme and Qui-Gon, and how they had Yoda talking with Qui-Gon. He's going to be in this, so
absolutely. And by the way, the Tales of the Jedi panel confirmed that essentially because he came back to voice Qui-Gon for that.
Yeah.
And then he tried to make up that BS excuse a few weeks ago where he was like, I'm a snub when it comes to TV. And the first episode was like, yeah, Qui-Gon's going to be in it. Yeah. So this is exciting.
I'm looking
times.
forward to it. I'm happy with it all. I know I sometimes come off as like not being super impressed, but my expectations were like, I knew it was going to be good, but I am happy with the way it turned out. I'm happy with the show. I think it's going to only get way better from here. And even the first 2 episodes were a really good start to it. So overall, I'm happy, and we will look forward to the career of this show with great interest.
To quote Hayden Christensen, this is where the fun begins.
We're ready for it all.
So later, I don't know if you have time for this later this week, but we do have some listener questions and YouTube comments. Maybe we could do another episode to go over those.
Yeah.
Maybe sometime tomorrow.
Okay.
Overall, it was a good setup. I like where it's going. Thought the ending was perfect, and I'm excited to see what they do next. So we will have a lot more content coming on the channel this week, you guys. I think I posted like 9 videos over the last 2 days. So there's a lot going on. I will be posting Matt's Star Wars Celebration experience probably next week because I need to manage my time.
There's a lot of videos, by the way. So
there's a lot of videos that I have edited. I'm going to try to get our sister Carolyn on the show again, maybe get a couple guests to talk about Kenobi. So that's exciting. So stay tuned for that. We will do a separate episode to address listener questions, comments, and theories because you guys sent in a lot. And unfortunately, Matt has to go. So we will do that either tomorrow or the day before Kenobi episode 3 releases. But in the meantime, do not forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell. Thank you for engaging with us on all of our videos and sharing your comments and theories. We really love hearing from you guys. We want to keep this going. So if you do enjoy the channel, please subscribe. You can also follow us at star_wars_pod on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We post on those sites daily. So if you want updates there, go follow us there. You can also listen to us on Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Spotify Video, Apple. YouTube, Apple. Drop us a review on Apple. It really, 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 really helps, and we appreciate it. So go do all that good stuff. Stay tuned to the channel, guys. We have so much coming, and it's just a matter of time of getting it edited and posted. So we will see you guys later.
See you guys next time. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Hi, new followers.
Next episode of another Star Wars podcast. See you next time.